Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We are your hosts, Kristen and Karan. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble.
Today on our podcast, we are chatting with Ashley Shaffer from Endeavor Self-Defense and Artemis Design. Ashley is a self-defense instructor who believes that everyone should take responsibility for themselves and their families and train to be safer in their daily lives and more confident. Ashley has been forging her own path in creating a business and helping women tell better, more empowered stories. So welcome, Ashley. We're excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
So part of your mission is to live a better story. We would love for you to tell us the story of your own pirate journey and how you began.
Cool. Okay. So probably from the get-go, like even when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily do what was expected. Not that I was a troublemaker necessarily or anything like that, but I definitely was always a tomboy. I was headstrong. I was very independent, and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I went to college at Ohio State and started out in environmental science, switched to wildlife management, and eventually ended up doing agricultural communication. I come from a rural background, Southern Ohio, hillbilly, middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. So the farming and wildlife background was where I was coming from. And like the idea that 17-year-old me had was like, wildlife photographer for National Geographic. That didn't exactly pan out. I mean, whose dreams do when they're, like a kid. But, and from there, I did some magazine design work, like a lot of layout stuff. Did that for several years, really liked that. I also have a very artistic background. I was always in art classes, photography, that sort of thing. So combining my love of like nature and animals into like art and design sort of is where I started. Then eventually I started going to a gym called Endeavor Defense and Fitness because I wanted to learn something new. I felt like I was in a rut. I hadn't learned anything new after college for several years and was like, all right, I need to spice things up. This is getting boring because I hate, like, that's how I've been my whole life, right? I want to do something more. I want to learn something more. So I ended up there, loved it right away, was like just full all in. And now 5 years later, I am a lead instructor and helping run the women's self-defense here, training in jiu-jitsu and some mixed martial arts type things. And I love it. So this is what I do. I have my instructing on one hand, and then I also have my design on the other hand, and I try to balance those two out.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell me a little bit more, or tell us a little bit more about what you guys do at Endeavor or the programs that you run.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have what we call our hybrid defense program, and that is, it's not just for women, it's for anybody. It's based in Krav Maga, but we also do a lot of stand-up wrestling, and we do some groundwork and just a lot of other things mixed in. So it's not exactly strictly Krav, and therefore we call it hybrid defense. And that's our defense program that we have. We also have classes for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So we do BJJ classes. We have like a hit fit bag class that we do. We have a kids program for grappling. And then we also have an entire CrossFit side that I'm not an instructor for, but that's also there. So
what is it that drew you into the self-defense side? Other than wanting to learn something new, what kind of kept you there?
Sure. Yeah. So besides learning something new, I'm a relatively practical person, and I'm one of those people that likes to collect skills, right? So I grew up hunting and fishing. I have a pretty good background. My dad is a carpenter, so I knew how things work for building things. I know how to run a saw. Like I knew how to hammer nails when I was like 5, you know. I like my family is also from a farming background, so I have a little bit of those skills. And so learning self-defense was kind of the idea was just learning another skill. And at first that's what it was. And it was fun and it was challenging. And every day I got a little bit better, but there was also, I knew I had a long way to go. So it was just, you know, like constant improvement, like the improvement loop, right? You get a little bit better, you reach a certain level and you're like, but now I can get to this next level and I have to try harder again to get to this level. So, but yeah, it was just learning a new skill. And then it turned into something that I really, really loved. And I loved the confidence, not that I ever was necessarily lacking for confidence, but it did give me a new kind of confidence in the ability to deal with a threat and protect myself, and made me think about things a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. And so that when I got to that point, that's about when I was like, oh, this could really, really help people. Like this, especially women, right? Like this could change people's lives. If you didn't have that kind of confidence, like this could give you a lot of confidence. So that's when instructing and like helping people sort of merged with just like, hey, I want to learn this new skill.
Mm-hmm. And so in terms of like your women's program, or what does that look like?
We don't necessarily have a separate program. Like our women are in class with the guys. Like it's, we run seminars, like it's about every 3 months, I think. And those are women's only classes. Like we'll run seminars, occasionally we'll switch it up and have one that's like focused on ground, one that's focused on like, but they're very entry level, very much like, hey, you can advocate for yourself and your family, and you're completely capable of doing these things that can make you safer and learning these skills that can make you safer. Here's a small taste that we can give you in these few hours. If you're interested in this stuff, then like we have a lot of opportunities and a lot of things that we can give you and help you, you know, advance in this. So mostly the women's self-defense program is more based on those seminars. We have had before, like we'll occasionally do like a women's self-defense day on a Sunday and be like, hey, come on, like we're going to hit mitts today or do something like that. But it's, we have a really good, solid community of women that really watch out for each other, and they're there for each other in our gym. But as of right now, we don't have a specific women's class. That's something we've talked about. It's just, especially for jiu-jitsu, having a women's class. And so that's sort of on the horizon. It's just not exactly there yet. But
yeah, I like that. And you and I talked a little bit before we started recording. Just, you know, I tried jiu-jitsu back in the 90s because I'm old. You know, I was the only woman, and you know,
right.
You know, doing like kickboxing or other sort of martial arts, the stand-up stuff against guys, that's one thing. And I know for myself, I just felt really uncomfortable wrestling around on the ground with a bunch of sweaty, hairy, giant dudes. So it's really cool that you guys have a program that that also has women in it. And have you seen like that program, or, you know, has there been a growth of women joining in like what you guys are doing?
I would say that, yeah, definitely. There is like a barrier of entry, sort of, right? Like you've got to wrap your head around. I mean, if you just watch two people doing BJJ and you don't understand what's happening, it looks crazy, and you probably want nothing to do with that, right? So especially when women start in our hybrid defense program, though, it gets to a point after they've been there long enough that we're like, hey, if a fight does go to the ground, like obviously in a self-defense situation, we don't want to end up there, but let's be realistic. This is completely possible that you end up in a situation like this. These are the skills that you need. And if you want to get better at these things, then hey, like you should jump into some of our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes, right? And since we have enough women in our program now and enough women who are in BJJ that like usually there is somebody there for them to partner with if they are nervous about partnering with the guys. And that helps tremendously, right? And so it's not that there was like a rush of women or, you know, like a whole group started at once, but it was more like Brooke and I started to do it. Then there was like a few other girls, you know, and then we have a great culture at our gym that keeps women around, right? Like we want to be there. We have a good community and we're there for each other. And so everybody just sticks around. And so you just get more and more and more. And then, you know, it's less uncomfortable maybe. I mean, BJJ can be pretty weird. It doesn't matter who you're with when it's starting, right? Like it's pretty intense and it's pretty odd, like if you don't know what's happening. But having friends and having a really strong community of females in our gym to begin with, and then those women helping the other women who are starting in these programs is extremely beneficial. I mean, I don't see how you could say it's not, right? They have those people there as as examples. They have people there who have been doing these things and have really strong community bonds, and people want to be a part of that. So yeah, it definitely helps.
And you mentioned that like it helped you just increase your confidence. So, but I want to know more about that. What has you know, doing this work given you?
Sure.
What's it done for you?
Yeah. I think that when I first started, I was definitely obviously learning a new skill. It was all new. I didn't lack confidence so much in my body. I had always been athletic. I was always doing sports and different things. Like I was no stranger to putting my body on the line necessarily to do, you know, ridiculous things. So the confidence that I had came from knowing that I had a skill set behind that then, right? I was actually learning these techniques, pulling them off, doing them well. And so that's kind of the confidence that I gained from this. However, that's not everybody's story. Like if I had my best gym friend, Brooke here, who runs our self-defense program, she didn't really have that super athletic background. So it was really, for her, the confidence that she gained was more like confidence in herself and in her body and her ability to do these things. And that's what we find with a lot of women, right? They don't necessarily, we're taught not to necessarily advocate for ourselves, right? Like you need to be quiet. You're the one that's helping everybody else. You're taking care of people. Like that's the job that you put yourself into as a woman sometimes. And this program can help. I love to see the shift in women's attitudes. I mean, you can just see it on their face sometimes if we tell them like, hey, you know that energy that you would have if like I tell you that I'm going to punch your best friend in the face, you're going to be like, no, you're not. Like, you know, I'm going to throw down for my best friend. Right. But if I said I was going to punch you in the face, you'd probably be like, why? Like, please don't hit me in the face. But getting women to understand that they can have that attitude for themselves and have that power to protect and advocate for themselves is awesome. So once you see that happen a couple times and you help people get there, it's you just want to do it more. You want to do it for everybody.
Sorry, we're all going through internet issues today, and now it's my turn. So,
Okay.
So we apologize if I start freezing up. And apologies to the listeners. We've all had internet issues.
Yep.
So, could be interesting. And yeah, with the whole being told like that you need to behave a certain way as a female, or women aren't aren't strong. Women are supposed to be weaker
Right.
than men. Like that's a thing
Hmm.
that at least when I was growing up was more of a belief. It may be starting to change now, but how are you helping
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. How are you helping women rewrite that story?
Right. So, there's like the whole saying, strong is the new pretty, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
just understanding that you can be strong, you can advocate for yourself, you can, you know, just because you have the ability to take care of yourself, that only helps you take care of your family, right? The more confidence that you have in yourself, in your abilities, like in your ability to impact the world, that's only going to help you with your family, right? Even if that's learning to set boundaries, right? You can't fill from an empty cup, right? So like keep your cup full. Make sure that you have confidence. Make sure like this is only going to help you and your family. Um, I think that that's pretty important. I also think like a lot of times going back to the like, be quiet, be pretty, be helpful that a lot of women get told growing up. We also stop having fun at a certain point. Like women just aren't supposed to have fun for whatever reason, like um and I think we do a very good job here of making training fun. Like obviously the stuff we're talking about is very serious, right? It's life or death. It's violence on an extreme level sometimes. And that's not discounted. We're never discounting that. But we also know how to have fun. And I think that's why we have such a good, tight knit community. And I think that helps as much as building skills and building confidence, knowing that you have this place where you can go and have fun and kind of like let loose is also extremely helpful. And that, can be carried on to just like the confidence that can be carried on to other parts of their lives as well. And I think that's something that a lot of adults in general, but a lot of women are missing is just that ability to be like, to be silly, be a silly goose, just have a weird random day, like whatever. We're going to do this in class today. I
Yeah.
don't even know. We're making it up as we go. Right. And that kind of, a lot of people are just like, oh, okay. And it's just like, yeah, roll with it. See what happens. Right. Let it go. It's fine.
Mhm.
So I really like that aspect too, which I've kind of always had that mentality. I never stopped having fun. I basically did what I wanted to do as much as I could possibly do it from the get-go. So, but I've seen that happen to a lot of women, right? Where they just like, they need to be serious and crack down and like, they've got to have a family and they have these goals and this is what they've got to do. And it's like, really? Like you have to, you can do this also. Like it's fine. So yeah. I don't even
Yeah,
remember
let's
what
make
your original question was. I kind of went on a tangent.
No, I like it. Let's make Silly Goose Day a thing. What day should
yeah.
it be?
Yeah, exactly. This is silly goose day. Like this is what we were supposed to cover in class, and we've devolved to here or evolved to here,
Evolved.
right? It doesn't. It's not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. The other thing I mean, just on the topic of like women, one of the other things that I found, I know before I found fitness that I was really missing was community and connection. And so I love that you talk about the community that you have at your facility. And where this became really evident to me was when our facility had to close during COVID. And we were doing Zoom
Yeah.
classes and Zoom happy hours or whatever. And it was so different. I'm so grateful that we didn't have to be closed for long, that we were only closed for I don't know, a month and a half or something, because that reestablishing that connection with community became kind of my lifeline through COVID. And every time they would talk about new restrictions, we all held our collective breath to, hope that we could stay open. Tell me about, I don't know what you guys went through. I'm up here in Canada. What did
Sure.
you guys go
It
through?
was
Yeah.
yeah, it was
What
very
did you guys
similar
do?
actually.
Mm.
We basically kind of did the same thing, whereas we're just like, okay, so we got on a Zoom call with like our core instructors and was like, here's the plan, right? Like, we're going to run classes. You're going to figure out how to teach them from your living room, right? So you have Brooke like teaching a stick class in the middle of her living room. I'm doing like hit fit classes. Well, we don't have bags, so we're just going to do a lot of body weight stuff. We're going to be shadow boxing, like, but no, we moved quick, right? Like a pirate crew, and just decided we're going to do this stuff and we're going to do it on Zoom. We're going to keep these people as connected as possible. We, at the time, were doing like maybe a monthly newsletter, I feel like, and we're like, okay, every week on a Monday, we're sending out a newsletter. We're trying to get Zoom happy hours together. We're doing whatever we can, right? And we also were only closed for, it was probably a similar amount of time, like maybe 2 months, maybe a month and a half, something like that, before we could open. And when we opened, there were like definite rules and restrictions we had to follow. We had to put a cap on classes. Like, we changed the layout of the gym so that like everybody had a heavy bag. There was like 6 feet or 10 feet of space, and like everybody had an area, and like all these things that we had to do. But we tried as much as possible, right, to keep the community together, to keep people engaged and interested. And then once they felt safe getting back to classes, once we came back to the gym and we could teach from the gym, people who were comfortable being there were there, obviously, but we ran Zoom classes from the gym for a long time after we first opened. So we did that too for people who couldn't be there or didn't want to come in yet. But it was a very, very similar story of just trying to, like, because people rely on this community, right? I mean, and it's good for people. And so we want to provide that as much as possible still, even especially in a time where everybody's like, what the hell is happening? Like, nobody knows what's going on. So I can still go to hit fit class at 5:30, even though it's from my living room. I don't care if they just sat there and watched me teach this in the middle of my living room, right? But like getting people to be engaged and doing, just being aware that they had like a safety net, a community behind them, I think was important.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like very similar stories about what we went through.
Yep.
And we're excited. I don't know about you guys, but we just finally lost our last restrictions on fitness here the beginning of July. So
yeah, we've been open a little bit longer than that.
We've been open.
I mean, as
like
far
last
as
summer,
like,
yeah,
right. But like we haven't had any necessarily like I can't remember exactly when like the levels of things happened, but a lot of like fitness facilities had their own, like, we had like levels of lockdown essentially, and fitness facilities were on one, but we lost the majority of ours a while ago. I'm not exactly sure when, but
that's cool.
And then this winter with this past winter, everybody, like, when they started rolling out the vaccinations, like, then it really got to the point where it was like, okay, you either get vaccinated or like this, you decide, like, so but that's
we just stopped.
We're pretty much running.
We just stopped working out in masks, and let me tell you, that's great. Working out in a mask really sucks.
Yeah, I know. It's teaching in a mask is not. It was surprisingly hard. I was like yelling through this thing. Feel like I can't breathe. I'm dying in this thing, just trying to like yell and talk. I feel like it's harder than taking a class.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was not something I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I taught in the mask. So, hey, kids, you can't hear me.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to yell even louder.
Yeah. My sister's a kindergarten teacher, so I got to hear that entire angle. So I understand.
I understand. Yeah. Talking through masks. Lots of fun.
Yeah. Especially with small kids.
Yeah. So with self-defense and jiu-jitsu, you're getting uncomfortable. And part of getting started on your pirate journey is getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and taking those actions to get there. So what would you say is like an uncomfortable question that somebody could ask themselves in order to start on their own journey?
For specifically self-defense or
It could, yeah,
life?
self-defense, life, pirate journey, anything. Like,
Got it.
yeah,
Right,
what's
right.
something that could get them started?
Yeah. It might sound like you're putting off a lot of things that you feel that you should be responsible for, but I think asking yourself, do I want to do this? Whatever that may be that you're doing, right? Like whatever I'm doing right now, this day, whether you're stuck in an office, whatever you're doing, right? Do I want to do this? Now, sometimes obviously there are things that we have to do to get along in the world, but for the majority of the time, are you happy doing what you're doing, right? I have no full-time job. I have cobbled together just a bunch of side hustles basically to get along in the world. And like, does that have its own challenges? Absolutely. But also it keeps me on my toes. It keeps things interesting and I'm happy doing the things that I do. So we are only on this earth for a very short amount of time. And in the grand scheme of things, whatever you're stuck at an office doing, typing into a computer for the majority of the day, is that worth it? Do you want to be doing that? Does this make you happy, like in your soul, to be doing this work? Yeah, that's like, and that is how I've felt about everything pretty much from the get-go. So,
and that's a really great question to ask because I mean, I grew up a people pleaser. I'm guessing a lot of people have to be like, I need to do what this person says I need to do, or this is what my mom and dad said. So asking that question really helps break that too and figure out like, is this something I want to do or is this something I believe I have to do?
Or should do.
Sure,
or should do.
Or should do, right. Yeah, because I mean, like I have to do my taxes. I kind of have to do my taxes, like you got to do some things sometimes, but like, but in the grand majority of the days and hours that you have on Earth, are you happy doing what you're doing, right? Do you feel that you have a purpose? Is that something that you like are going to be? I don't even like. It's not even the like, oh, I want people to remember me or I want to be famous, like whatever. That it doesn't matter. Like, are you happy doing what you're doing right now? That is, I think, really important. And I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, everybody's susceptible to that, right? Like, there was a period of time I graduated and I was in my 20s and I was like, okay, like I gotta have a job. Like, okay, I got a good job. Like, get a house. All right, buy a house. And it's like that. Okay, now what do? I don't know, right? So it doesn't. It's not a checklist. Life doesn't, it's not a thing that you have to like get to the end of, right? Like it can be a multitude of things that make you happy. That should be your life. So.
And if you don't know where to start with a silly goose day.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Sign up, like go try something new, right? If you suck at it, cool. That means you have an infinity to advance from there, right? Like nobody's good at anything the first time. If you are, cool. I bet you're not good at another thing if you try that. So.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm sure Erin Janetti that you're working with has probably said this before, but always be a white belt. And
sure, right.
Just that concept of like, of always having something new to learn. And it gives you a great perspective with even what you're doing. So say for you as a coach and instructor, like it reminds you of what it's like to be a beginner at something, right? And to have some empathy for the people that you work with when, you yourself are sucking at something and learning something new. And then that frustration when you don't get it right the first time or
absolutely
all those things. It's such a great reminder for all of us, for parents, right? Having a good reminder of what children are going through and they're learning something new. And I love that always be a white belt concept for sure. It's a good pirate concept.
Yeah, it's a great mentality.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, right. or just, yeah, being a silly goose. Both of those things tie together really, right? Like, I think when you reach a certain level of ability in something, I think sometimes you feel that you can't be creative, or you can't just fuck it up, right? You can't mess it up, because you should know how to do these things, when realistically, like, you're just kind of a silly goose about it and play, have fun, even as an adult, right? Be creative. That's when breakthroughs really happen. So yeah, just never give that up. Never give up having fun or playing. If you're not doing that in your life, like, I'm just figure it out. Get that stuff done. Have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a friend that says follow the fun. If it like run to it, as long as it's fun.
Yeah.
When it stops being fun, you take a pause, you try something else that's fun. Maybe that thing you don't come back to. Maybe you do, but as long as you're following the fun, you can enjoy life. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
With all the work that you're doing right now, what would you say is your social rebellion that you've either started or looking to start with the work that you're doing? What are you trying to fix or rebel against, I should say?
Well, yeah. For women's self-defense, it's really just, like we've already covered, giving people confidence and help, not even just women, but people, right? The advocacy to stand up for themselves. And then also like the ability to have this community that maybe hopefully makes them feel like they can have some fun in their lives, like that, to make them that's sort of one thing. And then as far as like my design work goes, I'm not exactly creating social rebellion in any way with that. I'm not saying that I wouldn't like to, but it's I'm just making my own way there, which is my personal social rebellion, right? Of not buying into like having a corporate full-time job, of just piecing these things together and being able to make a living and have fun doing what I'm doing. And I guess like that would be an example of leading by example, like it is possible to love everything that you're doing and make it work for you, and not standing for, buying in and basically selling my time. I don't want to, sell the time that I have. I want to enjoy it. So, but yeah.
Having fun is a rebellion all on its own in this world anyway. How many
right? Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, how many of you've said
Definitely.
it, but how many of us grow up and are like, we have to do the 9 to 5, we have to do that,
right?
So.
Exactly. I just, yeah, being an example for my sisters, my nieces, like my friends, of just being able to be like, you just, it's going to be okay. Just let it go. Have some fun. Obviously you need to take care of yourself, but you have people that are here for you to help you with that. So, yeah.
So with the creativity part, I'd love to hear more about your business, Artemis Design.
Sure. Yeah. So Artemis media design, it's on Instagram. I had all the years of building the skill while I was doing a bunch of, magazine layout and design. And so I'm basically a black belt in that, right? So this is the thing that I'm really good at. But when I branched off then and started doing it myself, we tied back in the be a white belt mentality, in the fact that I can take on whatever project I want now. Like if I wanted to do something that's like, I've designed some t-shirts for the gym, like because I wanted to, right? I recently helped somebody design a board game. That was super cool and something I've never done before, right? So yeah, exactly. It's very fun. And I get to use my black belt level skills, and still be creative and help people out that way. Like I love getting to help people. Like they have this idea in their head, but they don't have the skills to make this happen. And if I can just do it, because I've done it for so long, and I love being able to do that for people. So yeah, that's whatever creative, adventurous idea you have where you're like, I don't exactly think that I can make this look cool. Like, I'm your girl. I'm there. I'll help you. That's what I want to do.
That's cool. As a fan, I don't know if that's the right word, of the goddess Artemis, why don't you tell us how you came up
Yeah.
with the name?
Okay, so I also I was like that kid that was just reading about mythology when I was, like the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, whatever. Like I thought it was all cool. So, but Artemis really stuck out because, like I said, I grew up like in the country. I like was shooting bows with my dad and uncles when I was like 7. I know, probably younger than that. Like, so I grew up shooting bows. Like, and so she always resonated with me. Plus the whole thing of like, she has dogs. They're my favorite. Lives in the mountains, just running around the woods, shooting things. That's pretty much it works for me.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from.
And she's pretty cool as
I
far as
would say
goddesses
that,
go.
yeah, I would say that anybody that knew me well would not be surprised at all that I chose to name a company Artemis.
Now, it's been a while on my Greek mythology, so will you give me a little refresher on Artemis and what she is, what she does?
Sure. So she is the goddess of the hunt. Her brother is Apollo. She's a daughter of Zeus, and I can't remember which one is her mom, but she is silver and tied to the moon, I think, whereas Apollo is gold and tied to the sun, but they're twins. Yeah, she's the goddess of hounds also, and bows, and I think young, like maidens, I think. So she helps with that too. And the story of when she was born, and I hope somebody listening to this isn't like, you are wrong on every account.
We're going to hold you to everything.
Yeah, exactly. This is my made up mythology lecture now in the middle of it. But she was born and then immediately helped her mother deliver her brother. So she was like also, I think, connected to like childbirth. But talking about women and their expectations, right? So here you have these two twins. One is born and immediately has to help deliver her brother. So there you go. But yeah.
That is a high expectation. Still figuring
No
out
doubt,
what to do.
right? I mean, that's yeah, exactly. It's fine. It's no big deal.
Yeah, I love like she's always depicted carrying like a bow, and usually I think I usually see her with like deer around her.
Yes.
So definitely,
right. So yeah, deer and hounds, which that's basically my childhood. So it works. It's perfect.
Yeah. Very cool. So part of being a pirate is about taking small, bold actions. And I mean, listening to you definitely sound like a woman of action. But what are some of the small, bold actions that you're taking right now with your pirate journey?
Cool. So, well, before COVID hit is when, like, right before, well, a few months before COVID hit is when I like officially didn't have a full-time job and was like, I'm going to start freelancing, and like I'm coaching at the gym. Like I will substitute teach if I need to plug some holes. Like we'll see where this goes. And that was like I just decided to do it. It's not like I had like a safety net or anything. So that was not necessarily a small, but definitely a bold step. And then COVID hit this past, I don't know, time doesn't mean anything anymore. So I don't even know how long it's been, but like, we had this whole weird year. So when we came back from that, we were in the gym. I was actually training with Brooke to get our black belts. So that was a small, bold step about saying like, this is a goal that I want to have a black belt. I am going to put a lot of time into this. So like, there were other things I could have been doing at that time, but I sacrificed sort of a lot of time to be like, this is what I'm focusing on. Brooke got her black belt at the end or it was like the beginning of April? No, in March. I, however, last February tore my ACL, like just training. So I'm in the middle of rehabbing my ACL. So I am literally physically not allowed to take very many of any kind of steps. So this past like spring and summer, this summer has been all about like, all right, these are the things I need to do to get better. This is like to get back on track. Like, this is where I've got to be. This is what I've got to do. And just kind of going with the flow a little bit. It's been really, really hard because I am a person that's always been very active and very much like turn out on a dime and just decide I'm going to do this thing. And this has made me slow down and decide like, okay, these are the things you're allowed to do. This is what you need to work on. Like, what is your plan from here? So I'm kind of in the middle of dealing with all of that. So yeah, my small, bold steps are literally waking up every day, deciding like, you're going to be okay. You've got to get through this. Like, you're just one step at a time. So yeah, every day is a small, bold step right now.
Yeah. What is, I mean, you kind of mentioned slowing down, but what has this injury taught you?
Yeah. So when we were, I almost brought this back when we were talking about how like being able to identify with other people, or like when they're learning things, like slowing down and seeing things from their angle. So this has made me like, I have to coach now. I'm back to coaching, but I have to coach with a very limited amount of the ability that I had before. So that's put things into a certain sort of perspective. You know, I have to use my words. I can't necessarily show them this with my body. So that's one thing. And then appreciating, I've had injuries before, like plenty of injuries, but this is the longest amount of recovery basically that you can have with a sports injury. Like, you are automatically out for 9 months, and that's if everything goes okay. Like, so this has really put in perspective for me, like understanding on a better level, long-term people who have like disabilities long-term, or things that they're dealing with long-term that they have to work around or work with, right? On an entirely different actual personal level for the first time. Like, for the first time, there's been things that I'm like, I like physically really can't do this for, you know, this extended amount of time. And it's also put into perspective, like small wins again, right? I've been training long enough that like, I was kind of plateaued on a lot of things. And this is like, oh, I can do squats again. Like, holy shit, it's been months, right? And it's like, and that is a small, awesome win. And it's just like, oh my God, like I forgot what this was like to just be able to be like, I just want to be able to do a squat. Like, never in my life have I not been able to do this thing. Yeah, so that it's also made me look up a lot of stuff about athletes who get injured, right? Like seriously injured, because it was such a big part of my personality that it's not that I didn't know that, but I definitely didn't appreciate that until it was taken away from me overnight. I just couldn't do these things that I have been doing. So yeah, it's put a lot into perspective and given me a lot of things to think about, and been a whole bunch of stuff that I have to work through in the last several months. So yeah, that's been my journey for the last 5 months.
What have you noticed with like what you're telling yourself as you're going through this journey? What things are you saying to yourself, and how has that helped you?
Yeah. So it really is just like, be patient. Like, you have to be patient. This is going to take time. Like, there is a lot of internal talk that honestly, like I don't even know that I can pull out specific things, but it's mostly me understanding like the advice that I've given people before, like treat yourself like you would treat your friend, right? Like, if this had happened to Brooke instead of I, right, as we were going through training, like, would you be telling the stuff that you're telling yourself in your head? Would I be applying that to anybody else? Probably not. I'd be telling them this. And then, you know, reflecting that back on myself, which is exhausting. But just, yeah, getting through realizing, luckily I have a good enough, a strong enough community, enough support that I know that I have people there that are there for me to help me. And I can't imagine dealing with the things that I'm dealing with and not having that. Like, I don't even want to really imagine it, because there are days that, I mean, there's bad days, right? And I'm just like, it's just a bad day. Like, we're going to move on through this. Like, it'll be okay. It's going to be fine. But like, yeah, I have to talk myself through those days all the time. But I know that I have that support, and that is crucial. It's critical, I believe, for anybody dealing with something like this.
Yeah, you need to have your pirate crew with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well, where can our listeners go to find out more about you and your design and the programs that you do?
Sure. So you can definitely look me up. I'm probably most active on Instagram. I have Facebook accounts, but I'm hardly ever on there. Instagram, though, I'm on pretty often. So you can look up Artemis Media Design and find me there, or just look for my personal account, which mostly now is like cats and my nieces. And like every so often I post an update about what I can do in rehab. But that is ashley.ams. If you look that up, I believe that's what it is. So it's been a long time. I should have had that prepared, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, good. We'll put it in
then, yeah. We also obviously have our programs at the gym. So if you find Endeavor Defense and Fitness, you can easily find me from there. And our women's self-defense program. And then Brooke has a program herself, which hopefully she gets on here and talks to you guys someday too. But she has a program that we started digitally for people who couldn't be in the gym or whatever, or just didn't want to, right? That they can do an entire self-defense program that she has online, which is really cool, and people should look that up. So, but yeah, if you find the gym, you'll be able to find all of our programs and look me up, and yeah, shoot me a DM. I don't know. I'll talk to whoever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I want to check out Brooke's online program, because I was gonna ask that, like, if there was anything you were doing for people.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yes. Yeah. So we have there's a lot of actual online content we have through the gym for self-defense. There's like a handgun thing we have, like if you're just starting off and you need some support with that. All of us are very open to, like if you have certain questions about things, or you want to be pointed in the right direction, maybe like, to get in contact. We would love to help you. Even if you're not in Ohio, we probably have, hopefully we can get you in contact with somebody maybe that you are close to. Maybe not, but we'll try. So
Cool. And how would you recommend our listeners go about starting their own pirate life and taking their own small, bold actions? What advice do you have?
Yeah. What advice do I have? Well, like I talked about earlier, right? Think about the story that you're going to tell, right? If you wake up every day and you're like, this is how I'm spending these hours that I have of the day. Does this make me happy? Is this a good story, right? I love stories. I love storytelling. I want to live a good story, right? So when you get to the end, whether you're embellishing or not, is this a good story that you're telling? That's what it comes down to me. So,
Yeah, very cool.
Pirates are good storytellers too. So the better story you tell,
as they should be. That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Well, our last question is the most important question ever. Do you know any pirate jokes?
Oh gosh.
And if not, we have.
I should have expected this question. Actually, I forgot to look any up.
You like to hear a good, I say good pirate joke.
Sure, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I would love to hear a even mediocre pirate joke. Give it to me.
Yeah, for some reason we qualify them as good every time. I don't know why we do that.
Hey, it's a matter of opinion. It's probably great. It's probably great to my 7-year-old niece. So it's fine.
So why did two pirates get into an argument?
I don't know.
Because they couldn't see eye to eye. I'm going to get better at my growls.
It's still good.
I actually
It's
like
still
that
good.
one.
But yeah, you need some more gravel on that growl.
I do. I'll work on it.
Yeah. There you go.
Awesome. Well, it's been really fun chatting with you today, Ashley. And thanks for coming on and joining us and sharing about your pirate journey.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was great. Great to meet with you guys to talk. Get in contact if you guys are interested in any design, any self-defense things. I would love to talk. So
cool.